One small diced carrot, a quarter of a medium onion diced, one small celery diced, 1 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of pepper, quarter teaspoon of poultry seasoning, and 1 tablespoon of granulated chicken base or 2 bouillon cubes. Okay, the water is boiling in our pot. Now that is 8 cups of water. Do not put salt in it. I'm going to toss in 1 good size chicken leg, skin, everything. The next thing I'm going to do is add my vegetables. So this is the carrots, onion, and celery that have been diced up. What I'm not going to add in yet is the spices, and those will come into play after this is cooked. Now, this chicken only needs to be cooked through and the meat soft and ready to come from the bones. We're not making bone broth. So at this point, it's going to take about an hour, maybe hour and a half to get this cooked, and then we're going to be removing the chicken from the pot, letting it cool down a little bit, removing the meat, and moving on to our next step. While the chicken is cooking in the broth, go ahead and get the dough going. We're going to need 2 cups of water. And 1 stick of butter. Let me see if I can get these all in at once. They're cut into, I made a mess. They're cut into about 1 tablespoon pieces. So we're just going to heat the water until it's boiling and the butter has melted, and then we'll go on to the next step. So to continue on with the dumplings, we're going to be needing 4 cups of flour. This is all-purpose flour. If you wanted to use half whole wheat, half all-purpose flour, you can do that. And we'll need 1 teaspoon of salt. So just mix that around a little bit and then pour in the water with the butter. Just start mixing it around. It's going to start forming a ball. Make sure you get all of the bits of flour mixed in from around the edges and all of the flour that's down at the bottom. All right, I'm going to just sprinkle a little flour on the clean countertop here. Might need a bit more, we'll see. And then I'm just gonna dump it all down onto this clean counter, and we're going to knead it. We're not gonna knead it for 10 minutes like we do if we're making bread. We only want it to be fully incorporated and holding together well. Now this dough is going to be still pretty hot, but it will cool down as you work with it. Just pull all of the little bits together. And the kneading is a lot like if you were going to be making bread or biscuits, but it's just not the same amount of time, and you're not looking for the same sort of consistency in the texture of the dough. You just want it really fully incorporated. You can always add in a little bit more of the flour if you need it. All right, that's pretty much what you're looking for right there. And now I'm just going to let it rest here for a while. And while it's resting, the dough is resting, I'm going to be going back with the chicken and pulling the chicken meat off of the bones, pulling the skin away. I'm going to be taking the skin off, but I'm going to be reserving the bones because we just cooked the chicken. We didn't make bone broth, so we're going to save those bones for some bone broth another day, but we're just going to use the parts of the meat. Okay, I've taken the chicken leg out of the pot and keeping the broth in the pot warm while I'm doing this. So right now we just want to pull off our pieces of chicken. Yeah. These were nice meaty chicken legs, so that is good. You just want to watch out for any little bones that might be lurking in there. Get a little bit smaller. This is just a bench scraper. Alright, that looks pretty good. I'm just going to see how much meat we ended up from that one chicken leg. Don't want that in there. Okay, so we've got, that's about a cup of chicken from the breast, not from the breast, from the leg. So that will be perfect. We're going to let the dough cool down just a few minutes more, and then we'll divide it into probably half or quarters and roll out the dumplings. So I'm now in the process of rolling out the dough and cutting the dumplings. Some of the ones that are already cut are over here in the tray. You just want to make them as consistently thick as possible. About a quarter of an inch will do. Doesn't have to be perfect square or rectangle. Go back here a little farther. Okay, that looks fine. I'm using a pizza cutter. You just want to be careful and not damage the counter, not go too hard with it. This is just fine. I used to have a silicone mat, and for the life of me I could not find it to do this, so I'm just being very careful. So this is a recipe that comes from a church I used to belong to in southern Indiana, and we used to have a church picnic every single year in September. I don't think they're doing it anymore. They stopped doing it when COVID hit. But when they started making these for the church picnic, they were probably serving maybe 100 meals for the church picnic. And when I took over managing the picnic, and specifically the kitchen on picnic day, we were feeding about 2,000 people in just a matter of 4 hours. It was crazy. And these dumplings were the favorite of all of the things that we served. These dumplings were the favorite. And if the kitchen was having problems and not getting it out fast enough, there were times when I thought there was going to be a food fight. So these are really tasty. You will be enjoying them. I guarantee it. Okay, and I'm just going to keep moving them over to my tray here as I roll out the rest of them. We won't need to thicken the broth up at all as we're going, because the flour that's on these is going to provide the thickening as we go. So I'm going to go on ahead and finish up the rest of these, and I'll see you shortly. Okay, I am on the last of the dumpling cutting, and I've turned the heat on underneath the broth with the vegetables in it, and it is on high, and pretty soon we're going to start adding our dumplings to this. The chicken is still here to the side, and we have not yet put our seasonings in, so that will happen shortly. Really, the last thing that happens is we put the chicken in. You don't want to throw cooked chicken in too soon, because the end result will be that it falls apart. You still want to have nice distinct bites of chicken in your dumplings. So as I was doing this, I was thinking this is a great cooking task for children to help with too. I know when we did this in the church to prepare for picnic day, we had a lot of people coming and helping in the fellowship hall to get all of these dumplings made, and there was frequently children with us, and they were a big help. So I'm going to turn the camera off now, reposition it so that you can see how these dumplings are finished. All right, the chicken broth is boiling now, and it's time to add the rest of the ingredients and get it cooking. So the very first thing I want to do is add the seasonings that I talked about earlier, which is salt, pepper, poultry seasoning, and some chicken base or chicken bouillon, whichever you have available. So you want to get that into the broth first, because as the dumplings cook, you want it to start absorbing those additional flavors. So I'm going to start throwing my dumplings in, several at a time. At no point do I want the broth to stop cooking, or to stop boiling rather. So you can throw them in several at a time, but if you get to a point where the boiling has, ooh, that was hot, the boiling has stopped, you want to just wait and continue stirring until it comes to a boil again. We're probably not going to need all of these dumplings, but if not, whatever you have left on the tray, you should layer it on a cookie pan that's been lined with wax paper, and put the dumpling dough on the tray so that the edges don't touch. And if you have quite a bit, you can even put another piece of wax paper on the top and add another layer. And then it goes into the freezer, and when it's completely frozen, you can bag it up and just keep it in your freezer in the bag until you're ready to use them. Then you just take however much you need. I'm actually going to turn that down a little bit from the heat. There we go. This final stage of cooking the dumplings in the broth actually takes about 20 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera off and get this finished up, and we'll come back when it's all done. Okay, this is getting close to being done. I'm not ready to put the meat in yet, but you can see how it's looking. It did take every single one of the dumplings that I had on the tray, so that's a pretty accurate recipe, I would say. This needs to be cooked a little bit more until all of the dumplings are fully cooked. You just want to keep stirring it constantly so that it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. And I will be back when it's time to add the meat, and we'll give it a taste test. Okay, I have added the meat to the pot. The dumplings are done. You can see the meat in there. It looks delicious. So now I'm gonna make myself a little plate of these, and I will be right back and we'll taste them. All right, the dumplings are done, and they are going to be a really delicious dinner tonight. It's just started snowing again, and it's May 1st, so we're still needing some stick-to-your-ribs meals. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share, and leave a comment down below if you make dumplings in a different way that you would like to share, and maybe I'll make those as well. Bon appetit. Very good.